If you listen to the show, you already know that we cannot exist without our sponsors. They are the ones who make things happen behind the scenes. So let's acknowledge Fuji Sports. We've been working with these guys for a while now, not only as far as this podcast is concerned, but also at the RŌL Academy. We've had their gear. I personally use their gis. What a phenomenal product.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu, judo, MMA, tape, bags, anything you need for your jiu-jitsu journey, you can find at fujisports.com.
Let's talk RŌL TV. There's so much content on there. It's ridiculous at this point. But I think what is even more intriguing, as time went on during the project, we've been recording most of the events that were taking place here at RŌL Academy. At this point, I mean, we have guys like Chris Howder, Armin Fati, Rafael Lovato Sr., and Pete the Greek. I mean, there were so many different events that we've kind of recorded it. Don't you think that's amazing? I mean, points of reflection and kind of going back for all the students to see what really happened and refresh their memory.
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, being able to go back and look at all these high-level practitioners, Octavio Cudo, like one of the names you didn't mention. And I mean, just these guys that have been doing this for so long come in, teach these amazing seminars and workshops, and it's all recorded and there for you to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get additional savings on all this, type in code RŌL Radio at the coupon and get additional 30% off of your membership.
Nice. Go to rolacademy.tv. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please remember to hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. That ensures that we can continue bringing you the great guests and amazing content that you have come to expect. Today's guest is a 5th degree black belt and has fought in some of the top grappling and MMA organizations in the world. But he isn't resting on his past achievements and has set his sights on changing the world of jiu-jitsu. On this episode, Javier Vazquez discusses his unique coaching and instructing style, how it helps students learn faster, what separates it from the more traditional ways jiu-jitsu has been taught, and a ton more. Here's the RŌL Radio with JV Jiu-Jitsu owner and instructor, ADCC veteran, and former fighter in organizations including Elite XC, WEC, and the UFC, Javier Vazquez.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
We are live. All right. So this is going to be funny. I like this.
This is going to be fun. Absolutely.
I like this. Well, Javier, thanks for being here. How are you, Professor?
Good.
I listen. I just saw you attended the black belt event at Gracie University. It was this weekend, right?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yes, yesterday. How many black belts were on the mat?
I would say 150, something like that.
How did that feel stepping into them? Because this is a second one that they did over there, right? If I'm not mistaken. And I know the first one was kind of coincidental, they just put it together on a quick notice, and this one there was a little bit more thought put into this. Mm-hmm. How does it feel to be surrounded by 150 black belts and having that collaboration between different individuals from different organizations? Because it was quite of a mix of different people, right?
Yeah, in all honesty, I'm a bit of a hermit, and I'm kind of in my own little planet over here, and I'm developing my own little things over here, and I don't really socialize too much with black belts, but it's good for me to do it. I'm so focused kind of like on my own development and my own growth that I have a hard time kind of being out and studying what other people are doing. I'd much rather spend the time kind of developing what I'm doing. I feel it's more productive and makes me a little bit happier in life to just do things that way. I feel that there was a tremendous amount of knowledge there. I think that it's nice to see the different approaches to developing techniques and things of this nature. And I've always felt that I was very developmental. I always came up with new things. I always figured out different ways to kind of do, to achieve the same goals. So I'm so used to kind of my own ecosystem that it's nice to see that we are all ending up in the same place, essentially. We're all kind of coming up, good people will come up with the good solutions, the same solutions. Maybe I explain it a little bit differently, which makes a little bit more sense. Maybe somebody else explains it a little bit differently, something that allows you to click. So it's it's interesting to see the development of people's games and seeing kind of where it's at. I always kind of tried to think outside the box in the norm. My jiu-jitsu is kind of unique. It's kind of a niche of a niche. But ultimately, I believe we all end up in the same place. And at this point in time in my development, I believe I'm just a little bit ahead. I've always felt I've been a little bit ahead, and from seeing not just the techniques, it's not just the techniques, but just the consciousness, the overall consciousness as a whole. Everyone is kind of thinking still in a particular way. And I think that there is
what is so groundbreaking about what you are describing?
Well, I think that we are taught jiu-jitsu backwards in a more difficult way. And I have lectures that I've put together and kind of, I've been tracking my development of my mind over the past, since 2011, I really started to document it. And you're taught a bunch of moves. You guys train? Do you both train?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
20
So
plus years.
You've been taught a bunch of moves. From side mount, here's how you escape. From mount, here's how you escape. From mount, here's a submission. And from mount, from guard, this is a submission. From side mount, this is a submission. Now, there's no real rhyme or reason behind those submissions. Either you get them or you don't. But there's no strategy. They're not part of a bigger picture. Why are you attacking that submission? Is it energy efficient? Is it causing the person to fatigue? Is it strategically the best option? Are you attacking it in a way that's easily defended? There's no real rhyme or reason behind what we're taught. We're just taught a bunch of moves. If you guys want, I can, I'll text you over kind of the development of my mind over the past 30 years. And you see everything is scattered. All of the moves are scattered kind of all over the place. Then the next slide that you're going to see is you see things kind of more grouped together. But again, when you zoom in and look in, it's too complicated. I used to show people like the project that I was putting together, and they're like, it's too much, because there was no rhyme or reason. I knew inside of me what worked and what didn't, but there was no rhyme or reason. There's just all these moves. So I recognize that that is the old way of thinking. From the outside, you're looking at all the leaves. Imagine in a tree, the leaves are the moves. So if it'll make sense when I send you the slide. It's going to look like a bunch of leaves. And then they're grouped together. The way I'm putting it together is very different. I'm saying what works best from side mount? What works best from mount? What works best? What is the best way to pass? What is the best, when you get the side mount, what configuration is the best for my success rate? What strategy from side mount is it that I'm going to win 80% of the time? There's always going to be 20% of people that will be able to defend something, no matter how good I get at a particular move. Even if I'm getting the move 70, 80% of the time, it has what I call a positional threshold. It can only do so much. And I like strategies and positions where I'm going to win 80% of the time. So I hustle to get to those spots. Where am I going to win 80% of the time? I know what configurations benefit me, and I know which ones don't. Well, how do I know these things? Because I've ran the simulation enough times to start recognizing the patterns and behaviors in people's movement to know that when my arms are here, I am far more successful the vast majority of the time than my arms being here.
Try and
Right.
error.
And you might have, here and there positions, depending on how long you've been training, that I can say that for you. You can say, well, I'm good here, but not there. What is the best starting point from every position is the way I say. What is the move that gets me out the most frequently, most consistently? Why am I even going to try all the others? I'm going to try this one and figure out every conceivable route to get to this one because this one works. It's a proven method. It's a proven step. So I master the moves that are important. I master the strategies that are important first. So why is this important? One, because you're going to succeed more than you fail, which builds confidence and it builds a comfort doing the position. So much so that now, because I'm so good at passing guard, and I'm passing guard this particular way, and nobody can stop me from passing guard. And then when they do start stopping me from passing guard, they start behaving in particular ways. Maybe they do A 80% of the time, they do B 10%, and then they do C 10%. But this is what they do, A, B, or C. Mm-hmm. If I know that I am behaving a particular way, it's the danger of the way I'm behaving is so great that you have to defend, because if you don't, then I just take whatever I want. You just want me to get to your back and choke you. I'll just do that, no problem. At some point, you're going to start to resist, and that's when we pause. The advancement has been paused. And then that's where the fight starts, right?
Yeah. So well, let me ask you this. So how come nobody else is thinking in the same direction? I mean, at this point, jiu-jitsu is so diverse. That's one. But two, it's so popular that there's so many great minds in jiu-jitsu. And I just want to challenge you here a little bit from a conversation perspective is how come this is better than not somebody else what they are doing?
I mean, let's test it.
I mean,
let's
that's
test
probably
your way versus my way.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's the only way. That's the only way.
I agree.
I'm not saying that my way is the best because I'm saying it's the best. I'm saying let's test it. And I can assure you that we're all going to lead back to the same point. I'm telling you, that's why I say I'm a little bit ahead. I feel like I'm a little bit ahead. There are root problems to every situation.
Yep.
I know those root problems, and I'm really good at fighting those root problems. So I have this way that I'm doing a particular thing. So you start reacting in these particular ways. So what is happening, that is the start of what I call generating a timeline of events. Now, I am controlling the rhythm and the future of where we are going. I am the one that is steering the ship in the direction that we're going. Now, why am I steering the ship in that direction? Because every stop along the way, I am fighting from a position which I call absolute advantage, which means I'm going to win more than you. Now, I was saying this yesterday at the seminar. I said, for me, there's been like such huge breakthroughs. I always had strategy. I always kind of did things a certain way, but I've come up with I've been gifted with the knowledge of understanding that if you control two things, just two things that are so simple. I mean, it's so massive what I'm going to tell you, and when I say it, you might just be like, really? There's two things that you need to control. And it changes everything. It changes everything. One, the hands. You have to understand how to control the hands, how to fight the hands, how to prevent isolation, and how to work as a team against their hands. That's the first one. Mm-hmm. The second, from every position. That's why I'm saying across all your entire game. So by me controlling your hands from side mount, it's beneficial. Me controlling your hands from guard, it's beneficial. Me controlling your hands from mount, it's beneficial. Me controlling your hands from back, beneficial. This is a universal concept, a universal principle. How you control the hands within each section, well, that's what I'm trying to prove. The second is preventing somebody from turning. So imagine the person's on their back. You pass the guard. What do people do? They bail and turn to turtle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? A lot of people, in order to prevent the pass, they bail and turn to turtle. Well, what if you couldn't turn to turtle? What if I didn't let you turn to turtle? What if when you got the turtle, I'd pull you back? You come up, you turn on your side. When you turn on your side, I call this quarter side mount. There's two ways that you can get up from quarter side mount. The first way is you're on your shoulder and you can come up to your elbow and then turn to your knees. Basic mechanics. I call this basic mechanics. The second way you can come up to your shoulder, come up to your knees, is by staying tight, not coming up to your elbow, and turning and coming up to your knees, and then coming up to your elbow second. Basic mechanics. Which one is better? Which one of those two methods are better?
I know which one I use.
I know.
Which one do you use, Gary?
The first one.
I know that this is what I call a binary choice, a binary decision. You can choose to get up one way or you can choose to get up the other. I can assure you that one way is going to lead to your doom. If you don't know what that one way is, I'm going to catch you. Mm-hmm. But we're talking very early in the timeline. I'm starting my timeline. My finishing position is starting from way back. From guard, I can do it. From side mount, I can do it. There are finishing positions that are far superior than others.
And I think that's the interesting part here, listening to you, is because a lot of students out there, regardless of their rank and experience, they troubleshoot the situation based on what's happening right now at this particular moment. They are reacting to surroundings and circumstances. What
they already dug.
Absolutely, right? And what you're talking about is setting the pathway so early on that the ship is steering in the direction that you want it to steer, not
at
reacting.
The rhythm that I want, at the rhythm that I want, at the speed that I want. What you don't understand is no matter how fast you are, in order for you to submit me, we're going to have to land in a position of what I call fundamental stability. At some point where you're going to have to stabilize. You have to stabilize.
You have to be in control.
And in whatever stable point you land land in a particular configuration. Your body is configured in a particular way with the opponent's body. Yes?
Yeah.
If you don't know the step by step, I'm going to catch you.
Yeah.
Step by step, understanding what battles to fight and understanding how to fight them and win them 80% of the time, 80+% of the time. So it just leaves a high success rate. So the reason I feel that what I'm doing is so different is people go to good position. I say, what position is the best? And then I go to that. I go to landing on your back or landing on somebody's back might not be the best place to finish from. Mm-hmm. Might not be the best. Would you say this? Let's go through a basic scenario, maybe a scenario hopefully that you can understand. Okay. You take person turns to turtle. Mm-hmm. Right? You're in turtle, chest to back. I call this chest to back, turtle talk. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what is the first thing you're thinking? When you get to turtle, what's the first thing you're thinking?
Space management, balance management. How do you control that?
How do you advance? Right? What is your next advancement step?
Yeah, probably hip to hip control, and then try to reverse them down to the ground so I can progress farther and so I can control that person versus them being mobile.
Progress to where?
Well, so side control, perhaps, or taking the back, depending on what my objectives are, right? So there is a fork there, right? So
your number one thing. What's your number one thing? What are you going to? The guy just turned a turtle. You caught on top of him. You got an over under. You're starting from here. This is where I'm going to go from pause to record. What is the first thing that you were thinking?
Hip control.
Hip control. He's not going anywhere. He's in turtle.
We don't know that. How do you know that? I'll argue that.
Because you can feel his energy, you can hear his breath, you can see his movements, lots of reasons. There's reasons.
Okay,
he's not going anywhere.
All right, so tell me, what's your train of thought here?
Well, first of all, I feel that the vast majority of people, and if you disagree, please stop me. The vast majority of people, especially in a competitive setting, let's say, for example, I'm passing the guard, the guy turns to turtle. What are people thinking? I need to score, so I need to get my hooks in and take the back.
Hooks in, yeah, absolutely. That's the first thing.
Right? Yeah. It's the first. That's what I'm saying. What is your first thing? The first thing in order to establish the control is take the back. So now you end up on the guy's back. And would you say that what's better if I'm attacking somebody's back and they're defending, is it better that they can defend with both hands, or if I can trap one of their arms?
Well, average person will probably try to trap the arms to expose the neck,
It's
right?
better. This is what I call a universal truth. No one's disputing that. It's easier to finish when the guy has two hands and you have one, 2 against 1. I call this absolute advantage. This is a position of absolute advantage. Now, let me ask you another question. Is it easy or hard to trap the person's arm from the back?
Is it easier or hard?
Success rate. What's your success rate? If you take 100 people's backs, how many arms do you trap?
A larger percentage, in my opinion.
How high? More than 50-50?
I would say so.
Why do you attack that way?
To take their tools away.
To make finishing easier.
Correct.
Yes? Let me ask you a question. Is it easier to trap his arm on the front or if it's trapped behind his back? Is it easier to finish with the arm in the front or the arm trapped behind the back?
Oh, I'd say the back.
Gary said the back.
But don't listen to me.
I say the back.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Is this a universal truth?
So.
Would you agree with this? Is there any disputing this?
No.
So then why aren't you trying to figure out ways to get the arm behind the back?
Well, because I'll tell you why most don't do it. Because it's more appealing to do it in the front because the arm is visible and they're hunting the arm.
More appealing why?
Well, because it's flapping in front of them and it's visually in front of them, right? So it's harder to bring the arm behind the back and having more sense of control, right?
No.
Okay. So why?
This is the fundamental. There is an illusion. Most people think, oh, it's too hard to get it behind the back. No, it's not. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. From everywhere. Your arm is getting trapped behind your back. So my philosophy is slightly different. If I'm in turtle, the first thing I do is what? Trap your arm. It's easier to trap the arm from turtle than it is from the back.
Oh, absolutely. Because
is it easier to finish from turtle than it is to finish from the back with the arm trapped? I think so. The vast majority of times, I think it is. At the very least, it makes the guy work very hard to fight this configuration.
I can certainly see that, yeah.
So I looked at it as forget the idea that it's too hard. My question became to myself is how many different ways can I land there with the arm trapped behind the back or with the arm trapped in a particular, where is it easier for me to trap the arm?
Yep.
And secondly, and then it wasn't just me. I brought these, as I develop, I always teach it to my students, right? And I have some very good students who follow the game plan. And when they roll with other people, it's like, they tell me that they don't know. I'm like, they don't know. They don't see all the paths that are hidden, right? Yep. So when you start to understand how many different ways there are, then all of a sudden you start asking yourself, why do I want to get the hooks in first ever? So now it completely shakes
it changes the whole game
and makes things go all over the place. It's like, well, wait a minute. So now my mindset is don't get the hooks in. You don't need the hooks. Now my mind says, how many different ways do I have to trap somebody's arm? Why am I trapping their arm? Because it's easier to finish when the arm is trapped. And if I can trap it behind their back, it's even easier. And if I can trap one arm, it's going to get trapped behind the back.
But do you think do you think that other mentality that most people think comes from the sport scoring advantage? Because I mean, there is no secret that if you take the back, you put your hooks and you score significant. Matter of fact, you score the most amount of points, right?
Correct.
The 4,
yes.
right? So
it's a perceived dominant position.
Right. So a lot of people think that way because of the game that they are playing, and the game is scoring points, right? What you are talking about is finishing the game, meaning achieving the ultimate sense of control and leading to a submission, essentially.
That's
right?
all I care about. I don't care about anything else.
Right. Points are not as relevant to what you are talking about, right?
Because when I started this, I don't care about points.
Yeah.
I care about, does it work or does it not work? Am I able to finish and control and finish or not? End of story.
Yeah.
Along the way, I'll score points. If I'm looking at the clock and I need points, I can score points. I want to finish.
Yeah.
Everybody. Now, what I see as time, I see as a limitation. because now I'm having to expedite my decision making based on a clock. And that alters the decision making as well. And that has a big effect as well. So, yes, the points and the time obviously make a big deal. I don't care about points and time. I care about effectiveness and efficiency. That's it.
At which
Because
point?
When we roll, me and you roll, me and whoever rolls, we shake hands. You're only going to remember, you're not going to remember how many points. You could have passed my guard 15 times. I trap your arm behind your back and choke you, or I catch you. That's all that you remember.
It's over.
So it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters other than the winning, and nothing else matters other than the finish. So I don't make my decisions based on how many points I'm going to score. This is what I'm saying, that this is because of this thinking of reward. People think they're being rewarded, when in reality, sometimes, how many times do people take the back, they score, and the guy turns into them, and now they're on the guard bottom. Now the guy split, passes the guard, now they're on their back. So it creates all these problems because guys don't know how to control the back, or maybe, the back sometimes against particular individuals is very hard to control and very hard to finish from. So, I mean, I just think of I think of the process to submission differently. I have a process to submission. That's all I care about is submission. So
let me ask you this: at which point of your jiu-jitsu that pivot took place, that change of thought? I'm no longer want to think in this direction. I really want to start experimenting. There is a loophole here that nobody else is seeing. What was the pivot point?
Well, it's actually quite a long story. I mean, when my mind has shifted and evolved multiple times throughout I've been doing jiu-jitsu. I've been doing grappling since I was 14. So 30 some odd years, 33 years. So most of my living life, I've been on a mat. So I had different goals. I had different mindsets at different points in my life. This last shift has happened. JVOS mindset, I call this, happened after maybe 5 years ago.
Is there an individual event that took place for that to occur, or?
I got sick. I got sick and got cancer, and then I had to kind of restructure my whole life, and I beat it with the holistic approach. So I had to shift my diet, and what started happening is the level of nutrition and the way I was taking care of myself started shifting the way I started processing the information, and all of this started to happen. I started getting terminology, and I started getting terms, and I started writing down the terms, and then I started to realize that these terms kind of went together and they formed groups, and then I kept going and going, and then it kind of faded. So it was like a download of information that took me about a year and a half, which is JVOS. That's the program JVOS. And I have been under this kind of premise and principle and thinking in this capacity over the past like maybe 5 years. And the changes have been drastic because now I'm completely looking at things differently. So JVOS is a mindset. It's a way of thinking of what you're doing based on strategy, philosophy, breath work, the ability to understand how to regulate the body. Like when you start to get lactic acid and your breathing and your connection to your body, when your mind starts to shift into reactive and panic, how to re-regulate yourself back to calm. So there's the mind work process. There's keys to the kingdom, which is part of, hand control is part of keys to the kingdom. So what you have to say is these terms don't just work from one spot. These terms are universal. So when you start to apply one concept from every position, this is a universal term. There's a universal concept. So that builds that just by saying, okay, so let me just control people's hands from this position. What is the best way? What is the best configuration? What is the best way? And I'm not saying you're going to win every single time, but you're going to create so many problems that people will tend to avoid certain situations with you. So then what starts happening is you start to disengage. You start to generate behavior on the opponent, a disengaging behavior. So now the person is no longer engaging. Now they're disengaging. Now you can reverse the I call it a tension shift. The momentum of the role shifts and changes, and now the person starts to overwhelm.
Let me play a devil's advocate here. A lot of people would say this is very overwhelming. Like, you're making jiu-jitsu, everything that you talk about, this approach. We've been we've been taught the same way for literally decades at this point, right? And you're creating this different approach to jiu-jitsu, not even to jiu-jitsu. You were really talking about more conceptual approach to troubleshooting. This is not even jiu-jitsu. This is way deeper than that, right? And creating a path to success and with specific milestones, which raise your success rate essentially, right? And then it's all strategic approach to the winning, right? And some out there might say this is way too complicated. I just want to get on the mat and roll.
It's really the opposite. It's simple. It's simple.
Where I was going to go with this is when do you introduce this to somebody? Because I think for a beginner, maybe, is it too much? For a blue belt, is it too much?
Is it too much?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Here's what I'm giving you. Beginners come in. They get a way of thinking of first of all, I classify everything I do into 18 chapters, 18 positions. So we focus on a position a week. So within that week, we start, okay, we're in this particular position. What's the first thing you do? What's the second thing you do? What's the third thing you do? So we're starting with the positionally based chapter. Secondly, I'm giving you what I call a central path. The central path is my primary attack strategy. It's what works the best. I'm going to start that first. And then thirdly, I'm giving you a mindset of how to think of the position and what we're trying to go. What is the next lily pad or buoy that we're going to, and what route are we taking in order to land in a dominant position for us to finish? I'm giving you the position, I'm giving you the starting point, I'm giving you the strategy, and I'm giving you the mindset. What else do you need? So now it takes away the step-by-step ability of the student having to remember a bunch of steps. And now they're kind of having to think their way through things and then react normally, naturally, because they already understand and anticipate what's going to happen. So my experience with teaching this way is, yes, at first it kind of can seem overwhelming, but when you start to see the things when on Monday it's overwhelming, by Friday you're like, I got it. At the very least, we've achieved a certain level of ability to achieve. The next time I hit that chapter, you already have this level here. It goes like this, thunk. And then the next time you see that chapter, it goes thunk, thunk. So what I'm doing is I'm building up your level like a fighting character in a video game. Your strength, your speed, and your endurance. I'm going thunk, thunk, thunk. Next level, thunk, thunk, thunk. Next level, thunk, thunk. So within 3 months, you're seeing massive growth in the skill set of the and understanding of what we're doing from the student.
What I really like about what you're talking about is you essentially create an opportunity for a student to think on their own within the guidelines that you present them, and they can make some of these decisions by themselves. They don't have to memorize. This is this. I make 5 steps. I got to do this. I got to do that. It's a very monotone way of learning versus what you're describing is an extremely engaging approach to jiu-jitsu, which
common sense.
Yeah,
it's common. If I slow things down frame by frame, your arm moves here, my arm moves here. Your arm moves here, my arm moves here. If I slow things down frame by frame, and I give you the opportunity to think, really, what is the next best step? You're going to make it because you have time, opportunity, and most importantly, you have a present state of mind. You're regulated. You're breathing. There's no stress. There's no speed. There's no pressure. You're just able to make the most logical decision next.
I love it.
What happens when we train is the fact that your mind things start happening so fast. What I try to do is I try to slow everything down and tell you, listen, really, you don't need to worry about all these things out here, all the leaves you don't have to worry about. You just got to worry about this trunk right here, right down the middle. Just focus on this and everything else goes away. It's like magic. So rather than trying to do it your way and having to deal with all of these problems, unexpected problems, like guys have unlimited options. If you do things the way most people do, people have unlimited options. People don't have unlimited options with me. They have 1, 2, 3 options. I stop 1, I stop 2, I stop 3, I stop this whole game. Everything stops.
Which remove the distractions and increases the success rate. I mean, that's just by definition, right? Less
Correct.
choices, more focused approach.
Of course. It's common sense. If you sit there, what I've gotten over the past several years because again, I'm in my own little bunker, so I don't really teach outside of my bunker for the most part. And when I have, like the first time I did the black belt thing, and even yesterday, I got some praise from the other black belts. Are like, you blew our minds, just because of the way you're approaching the problem. It changes everything, and then you got to kind of kind of stew in that for a little bit, and then you start having these breakthroughs. It's crazy. It's crazy. So once the seed is planted, if you really focus on what I'm saying, you start looking at things in a particular way, things start happening, reality starts changing. So then I call this generating behavior. So what I'm doing is when I start from the primary attack strategy, when I start from the central path, you're going to react in particular ways. I already know how to stop all your reactions. And then I can even make you react at the speed that I want you to react. So I'm basically hacking your mind. I'm hacking what you're doing, and I'm hacking your thinking. And based on the pressure and the tension and the amount of baking that I'm applying, I slowly start to the amount of tension generated throughout our roll. Mm-hmm. I slowly start to shift your mind from present mind to reactive to panic. And then what starts happening is your energy level goes like this, and then it goes like this, and then it starts spiking. And if I can go 1 minute and I'm able to get you to be going 100% for a minute, and I'm able to go 30%, and I can prove it to you, and I can show you how I'm going to do it, and I'll do it to you, and you're more tired every single time, I know that every single time we stop, you are far more tired than me. So I can now start to pick up the pace, and then you start to get overwhelmed. And even if you can manage it for a little bit, you start going from present to reactive to panic. And why is that important? Because when you're in a present mind, like I said earlier, you're able to make more consistent decisions. You're able to make good decisions, logical decisions. What makes you make bad decisions is the emotion that you're feeling in the process of making the decision. If I'm making you feel smothered, you're going to make a decision based on what feelings, not wanting to feel smothered anymore. So I am controlling your emotional state based on the attack methods that I'm choosing. I'm not saying, I can say, do it your way, but the results may vary. My way, at least, it's proven. And I can prove it to you against everybody in the room. Against a room of black belts, I can prove it. So these truths are truths. They're universal truths. That's what I'm saying. There's like, I've been doing leg locks forever. When the leg locks started becoming a thing, like, fighting, achieving inside control. It's like, this is the key. It's like, yeah, of course, that's been the key for 20 years. And now you guys are discovering it like it's something new. And that's what I'm saying. Because we've been taught things a particular way, the easiest way has been avoided, has been ignored. What makes most sense, the basic mechanics of jiu-jitsu, and people start to just try to overwhelm and overpower rather than using tactics, emotions, suggestiveness, and kind of, it's easier for me to get something if you give it to me rather than me trying to take it.
100%. Absolutely.
So I just figure out a bunch of ways for you to give me things. It's wonderful.
Yeah, convince them to do it your way. Absolutely.
You want to do it your way. I want you to do it your way. It's a win-win for everybody. You're going to do it, and I'm going to lead you right into a trap.
Do you think at some point jiu-jitsu will be taught with what you are describing across the board, or at least in the majority, right? Because again, it's not.
It depends.
What does it depend on?
Well, when I was training myself, and ultimately when I started to document what I was doing, I had what I called desired results. And I basically reverse engineered what I was doing. I want a martial art that's highly effective, that's highly efficient, that is strategically sound, that is fatiguing for the opponent, and that has punch defense throughout. I have these kind of goals that I have, and then I build the martial art around the goals. I want what works best first to be taught. Who determines that? Me. Because if you train a guy for a month and I train a guy for a month and we say they're going to fight, I'm going to focus on the positions and the things that I think that we can get away with, and we're going to win. What the strengths are and what the best way to do the strategy from those situations. I think that it's an easier way to do it. I think this is the easier way to do it. I want my students to get good fast, because it shouldn't take you 12 years to get a black belt, 10 years to get a black belt. It took too long because we're doing it by teaching a bunch of moves first. And then it's sink or swim, right? It's either you get it or you don't. Either you're good or you're not. That's it. Like, no. Every situation has a particular way that it is an easier way to do it. And even if you don't do it, can't get it every time, you're going to get it the vast majority of the time against the vast majority of opponents. And then you start asking, well, how are they stopping it? What are they doing to stop it? And it's just mastering how to win that particular battle. You know,
there's definitely change in the way how jiu-jitsu is being presented. I mean, there's no question about this, right?
Yeah. My goal, my legacy. You know, one day you'll look back at this interview and you're just going to be like, he was right. That's what I want. He was right.
I hope so, because I actually do appreciate everything you're saying. I think
I know people. So. It's like I said, I feel like I'm a little bit ahead. I'm a little bit ahead of everybody. Eventually, everyone's gonna like. The more my stuff gets out there, the more people start seeing what I'm doing. The more they're going to be like, yeah, it makes sense. There's nothing that I'm saying. Anytime I teach, it's not like it doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, it makes obvious sense. Well, why weren't we taught this way? Just because people were taught in a box. People were taught under a rule set, and it shifted everybody's thinking to keep thinking within this rule set. Take the back. It's the next progression. No, that's not the best progression. It's the best way to gain points, but it's not the best necessarily progression towards submission. So again, my end result is submission and finishing consistently. It's not to score points. So, and it's effectiveness. It's not to score points, because this is one of my biggest issues. How many guys are really good at jiu-jitsu but suck at self-defense and suck at fighting? And if how many guys, especially early on, that guys jiu-jitsu world champion this and jiu-jitsu world champion that, they go to the UFC and they get their ass kicked. It used to happen all the time, happens all the time, because the sport evolved in a particular way, so far away from its original intent. It's good on its own as its own thing, but when you apply that into the context of fighting, it changes everything, because people are too spazzed out because of the punches coming. So what do I teach first? Hand control, distance management, base disruption, control the hands, control the distance, control the rhythm, you control the fight. I'm teaching the concepts that are most important under the context of fighting and self-defense. I don't care about points or jiu-jitsu. It's nice. Can my style be adapted? 100%. I beat everybody. I won the ADCC trials. I topped out everybody. Like, it's not like my style can't go for sport, but that's not what we're building it from. It's just so happens that it's effective for sport because there are universal truths that I follow. The truth is the truth, whether we're throwing punches or not. The truth is the truth. So I've been kind of eliminating parts of jiu-jitsu for years. I don't need to pass anybody's spider guard if I'm wearing a gi. Ever. Not that, oh, can you pass a spider guard? I'm not fighting from a spider guard ever. So the second that, if I'm able to do one thing to stop an entire game, same thing with butterfly guard, that's easy to shut down too. Once you understand how to shut it down, like that whole game is gone. Now what? So there are universal truths and basic simplicities in control and philosophy, and there you guys, I think a lot of people, because of all the moves, you're so overwhelmed with the amount of options. Let me tell you, there's not that many options. Those options are an illusion. Those are an illusion of options. Because when you understand the root problems of things,
they don't exist. Yeah.
They don't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
your reality is different than mine. But if I roll with you for 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to be like, wow, like that was everything that I was trying that. So that's why I don't waste my time teaching all that stuff. I'm more focused on here's how you shut it down. Next problem. And then it shuts down their whole game.
I love this.
Things. I just need to learn the root problems of each configuration. It's easier to learn, 12 ground configurations, right? Or 14 ground configurations. It's easier to learn 14 ground configurations and know that no matter what happens, who's on top of you, how heavy they are, when you fight a particular way from within these 14 configurations, you're going to get the same result.
Nice.
And it takes away the size, it takes away the strength, all that stuff is an illusion.
All right.
I love it. I know you have a hard out, so we wanna be respectful of your time. Listen, at the end of every episode, what we do is we have a question from a previous guest, but they had no idea you will be answering this. Gary's gonna take a lead on this, and then we're gonna wrap this up just in a minute.
So this is from Shintaro Higashi, and he wants to know what makes a jiu-jitsu guy or girl, I guess, coachable. What makes somebody coachable?
Of course, there is the individuality and opportunity to do your own things and make your own decisions within any particular competition. The trust that you have within your coach is incredibly important, and to listen to him even if you disagree. Because they're looking at it from a perspective that perhaps you are not seeing. So I tell my students all the time, I said, I'm not saying don't experiment however way you want to do whatever you want to do. I want you to experiment, because the experimentation will help you realize that what I am telling you is the right way. You need to fail to truly appreciate the right way. I do that with the kids. I tell the kids, you got to get around the legs and get the side. I don't care how you do it. I don't care how you do it. You can do it however you want. And then they come back and I go, how did that go? I couldn't get around. I said, try it my way. So I allowed failure. I allowed you to recognize that the solution to the problem may or may not be as simple as you thought, but you weren't able to come up with a good, consistent solution. So then you do it my way. And then my way works every time. And then you go back and you start doing it that other way again. It's like, what, you don't like winning? You don't like winning? Why don't you just do it with my way? I've proven to you that my way's better. Start with my way first. And off of my way, watch how things go like this. Things open. And then you start seeing, hey, there's a hand coming that he's talking about. Hey, here's the foot coming. Exactly the way he's talking about. So what starts happening is I just start putting my hands in the way and I start catching things midair. Feet, hands, head. I'll get into a particular pattern. I'll go like this. People's hands come to me. I don't have to chase things. I just bring them to me. It's much easier.
I love it.
My way, if you can trust your coach, just do it their way. Do what they're saying. I think that ultimately, the first time they do that and it goes well for them, it bonds you and the coach together so that the trust that maybe you were a little bit reluctant to give because of the history of success makes the trust a little bit more easy to give. So sometimes just shut up and do it my way. Try it my way. I've got 30 years of doing it. How many years you got doing it? Oh, 6 months. Okay, try it my way. I'm telling you, this is the easiest way.
It might work. Yeah.
It might work.
Yeah, it might
My
work.
question to my students, and sometimes they still do it, and it's slowly happened to where everyone kind of is rolling my way, because show me a better way. And I tell my students that if you figure out a better way to do what I'm telling you to do, the goal that we're trying to achieve, by all means, tell me. And sometimes they come up with some creative ways. That's great. But they're just like, if you deviate off of the central path too much, everything becomes too chaotic. If you just stay within the central path, everything is easy. You just got to believe the central path exists, and you got to believe the central path works, which it does. I don't have any problem with it.
I love it. I love it. I know you have to go, so I really want to be respectful of your time. Listen, I really appreciate you doing this and stopping by even on the short conversations. I would love to have you back to dig deeper into all of this and continue the conversation. But thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Gary.
Yeah, I love the conceptual stuff because I do believe that it makes things easier, and that's why I asked about the new students, because sometimes I think they don't see the forest through the trees. So it's awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
There's a level of brainwashing that we got to achieve. Seriously, it's reprogramming because I'm like I talk about this. Change the way you think different, right? That's the kind of the premise of JVOS, the JVOS course, think different. And then you were talking about, who's going to do this? What is my goal? What is my desired result in this process and in my thinking and stuff? You asked me that earlier. What is my desired result, right? Why is that? When is everyone going to start doing it? I said my goal is simple. I'm lucky to be here. I'm lucky to be alive. I've been blessed by the hand of God to be able to still be alive. I could have been gone several years ago. And God has given me this opportunity to help people understand that changing the way you think can change your entire reality, your entire world. And my goal with my project, the master plan, is to change jiu-jitsu forever. That's not a small goal. I'm putting my expectations of myself very high, and I'm willing to put my neck on the line to prove that what I'm doing and what I believe works. And people are going to start doing things the way I'm going to do it, or they're going to get passed. Because when the right group of guys starts understanding and really looks at what I'm doing, once you see what I'm doing, you can't unsee it. It makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. And then you're going to start asking, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why? It makes no sense to do it this way because of A, B, and C. And so then you start kind of self-fixing your own problems. Mm-hmm. You start self-correcting. And that's ultimately what I want. I want people to start thinking for themselves. I want people, I'm not the only one that is seeing what I'm seeing. I thought I was crazy for a long time, and I show my students, I'm like, it's unbelievable. It's crazy. So to see I was at that thing yesterday and people were just like, dude, mind blown. Like the way that you say it, like it makes complete sense. I'm like, yeah, I know. Why isn't everybody else doing it? Because they're not me, I guess. They just haven't figured it out yet. It'll eventually happen. I think the more I kind of express what I'm doing, I think the more interest will grow. And I think that it's going to change jiu-jitsu forever.
Well, we'll make sure to put all the links in the show notes. So if you guys are listening to this and you want to dip into this, really explore this, and kind of go down that path and really expand your mind with what we talked about today, I encourage you to click on the links and take advantage of it.
All right, guys.
All right, guys. Let's wrap this up. I know you got to get going. Thanks for being here.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.